Every developer types git push multiple times a day. But if I ask you what does git push actually means, most of you would say it pushes my code to GitHub. It sends my files to GitHub, but that is incomplete. Hello everyone, I am Parul Prashar, a tech content creator and a national public speaker. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the internals of git push and what actually runs behind this command. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know everything that you need to know about git push, and the concepts I'm going to talk in today's video are just so beautiful, and I promise that after watching them, your mind will just blow off because we had everything in front of our eyes and we could not see it. The best part of this video is I'm going to show you through my laptop, and everything that we're going to make in today's video, you are all going to do it together with me. So without further delay, let's get started. So in this video, we do need to talk about some concepts that we studied in the first video. So if you're someone who hasn't watched that video yet, I would want you to watch the video linked in the I tab above so that you can continue at the same pace with everyone and you have the basic knowledge to proceed further. Now, quick revision. So, what is Git? Git is a version control system. How does it saves your file? It creates a snapshot of your entire project, talking about the changes you made in which file, the files that have been changed, the files which are same that have not been changed. It creates a snapshot. That snapshot is assigned an ID which is called hash, and this is how Git actually works. The second concept that we need to understand is branch. Now, if you all are using GitHub, I'm sure you would have heard the term branch, and most of you would say that we use branch to add some new feature or to handle some bug. But what if I ask you what a branch really is? Most of you would say it creates a copy of my file, and that's completely wrong, because branch is just a pointer. If you have done linked list, you know in linked list we have pointers which point to the next array position or the next position where the element of the data is kept. So similarly, branch is just a pointer which contains the information of the latest commit. Branch is a file with just one single hash. That is the latest commit, and it tells about the commit history which builds over time. And this is something I'm going to show in this video as well as we proceed further. The third concept that we need to know is a remote. So, what is a remote? It is a common term that we use almost everywhere. A remote, you can think of remote like a central area where all the files, folders, and projects are being kept. So, GitHub is not a cloud. GitHub is just another Git repository placed on someone else's computer. When you push your projects, when you push your things to GitHub, it is just being pushed to another repository. And in today's video, we are going to create a dummy GitHub, that is a remote repository on our laptop. Our laptop will also act as the local developer. For example, when you push files from your laptop to GitHub, you are acting as a local developer. Then our laptop will also act as a third developer in which another person is contributing to a same project. So these are three different things that we're going to do in today's video. Let's get to the coding part. So I want you all to open terminal. Once this is done, we are here. The first step would be we need to set up a remote area or a remote directory in our system. Let's do it. So the first thing that we need to do is mkdir remote repo. So the problem is I have already recorded 5 videos because I was unable to record. We'll talk more about this later. But the name is already being taken, so I'll use another name. So I'll take this name. We have created a directory. Now the next part is let's go into this directory. Now we're going to do git init. Stop over here. We have always heard about the command git init. So git init is usually used when we are creating a git repository for a particular directory. But here we're not going to use git init, we're going to use git init minus minus bear. Now this has a difference. Minus minus bear means that this will act as a remote repository. It will not have working files in which you're going to make changes directly. It will just as act as a central area in which other files would be added or other commits would be pushed. So this is what git init minus minus bear actually means. Once this is done, a repository is initialized. Now the next part would be to come out of this. We're going to create another directory, local repo. Now we'll get into this local repo. After this, we'll do git init this time, not minus minus where, because this is going to be a working directory. This is done. Now we have one remote and one local. The next part is to connect both of these things together so that what you send over here gets transferred here, and just as you all do and we all have done on our local systems and GitHub. So this is what we're going to do, and for this we have the command of origin, and we'll see it now. Git remote add origin. We'll put the path of this dot dot slash remote repo. So now this has been added. We've done three things till now. First, we created a remote, we created a local, and then we have connected. The next part is to make commits. Let's get into this part, and this is the most interesting part. Let's make some commits. So we will write the command that we have actually studied in the last lecture. So it is going to be echo hello world, and the contents would go into a file named file.txt. Now this is done, we'll do git add file.txt. After this, we're going to do git commit minus m first commit. Alright, so we have done our first commit, and now the next command that I'm going to run on my system will just blow your mind. Watch it carefully. Dot git slash refs slash heads slash main. So watch carefully now. Open Notepad and you will see this. We have a file created with the name main, and we have this. So if you're someone who's watched the last video, you will know that this is a hash, and git uses sha1 method of hashing. So we've got this hash. But if you're someone who doesn't believe what this hash actually is or what it actually does, then now what we're going to do will make you believe that this hash is actually a commit. It will show the contents of this hash, it will show the type of this hash as well. Let's do this now. So from the last lecture we did git cat file minus t and paste the hash. So this hash is of type commit. Let's run the command again, but this time we are going to print the contents of this hash. So the contents are first commit. So this is a commit. We already know that commit is made up of different things. It is made up of trees, it is made up of things like we have blobs, and this is what a commit is actually made up of. So it has tree in it. Then we have this first commit over here. If we want to see that what are the contents in this tree, we can actually do that as well. Let's try that too. So we can see this. Let's go one layer deeper. It says that tree has contents of blob. Now let's copy this text of blob, hash of blob actually, and let's paste it now. So it's so interesting to see. We started with a commit, we used the hash of commit. Inside that hash, we got information of the tree. We used the hash of tree and we printed its contents and we got a blob. We used the hash of blob to print its content and we got the content that we have actually written in the file. This is just so amazing. This is the first commit that we made, and we've already seen the beauty of GitHub and the push command. Now, before we make another commit, we need to push this actually. because what we have written now is just in our local repository. We need to send it to remote as well. So what we usually do when we are sending things from our laptop to GitHub, we use the command of git push. This is, we are going to use it, git push origin main. So things have been pushed. But if you're someone who would say that I don't believe it has been pushed or not, let's check the contents of the remote repository, contents of the branch of the remote repository, like we did this. So here we don't have to do dot git, we'll do dot slash remote repo dot refs slash head slash main. So we have another notepad file. Let's open it. We have this hash. Now we have two different files. The first main belongs to local, the second main belongs to remote. This is another hash that we have got, and since both of these hashes are same, it means the content that local and the content that remote is pointing to is actually the same. Now if you're someone who would say that how can I believe it, for this we need to make the second commit. Let's get into it. Echo world file.txt. Now git commit minus am second commit. So if you're someone who doesn't know how I wrote this, earlier I had written two different commands, first add then commit. So minus am is a shortcut of add and message in one single statement, so this is how I used it. So you have done that. Let's check our file once again if something has been updated. It's just magic. You see this, the file of local has a new hash, but the file of remote has the previous hash. This is because we have not pushed it yet. Only local has been updated. And if you can't believe me, let's check the contents of this. So the content says second commit. Now this is done. Let's push it, and now you will see that contents of remote gets changed as well. Let's do this. Git push. Now it has been pushed. Let's check it. This is our local and this is our remote. Remote has been updated as well. So you can see how in real time things are getting updated. Now I want to show one little magic over here. Let's make a third commit and then we'll see a hierarchy. Let's do it. So we'll repeat the commands echo hello file.txt git commit minus m minus am third commit. Done. Now we can see that again if you want to just check the remote local hash has been updated but that of remote is just same. So let's push it once again, git push. Now I'm going to run the command that we did earlier. So it is this command. And then you're going to do git cat file minus p and paste the hash. So this hash belongs to third commit. If we look at the information, we can see we have tree that we already know. Commit has a tree, tree has a blob, blob has the contents of a file. Then we have parent. Now this is very interesting. Parent also has its hash. Now if you could not identify, this hash is exactly same to the hash of our second commit. And just because we know the hash, now we always say that Git helps in understanding the history of our commits. So how do we do that? Suppose we just know our latest hash. We copied it, we pasted it, and we got this information. From there we got our parent hash. Let's copy our parent hash. We're going to paste our parent hash and we get second commit. So means third commit's parent had the information of second commit. Now second commit's parent has this hash. Let's copy this, run the command again, paste the new hash, and we get first commit. Now first commit has no parent because this was the first commit that we actually made. And this is just so interesting to watch how it is keeping a record of our history and maintaining all of these things together. Now this is the most interesting part of this video, and the next part is going to be even more interesting. Let's get into it. Now, whenever you're working on GitHub, how do you actually bring those files into your system or the entire repository into your system? You clone it, right? So this is what we're going to do. I told you in the beginning, we're going to make a third developer. And this is how we're going to do it in this part. Let's get out of this. Now we're going to make a third directory, but we're not going to make a directory. We're directly going to clone the remote repository into a other dev. Let's do it. Git clone remote repository, and this will go into other dev. So cloning into other developer, and this is done. Now let's get into this other developer. We are into this, going to repeat the steps again, going to make another commit, going to push it, and then we're going to see how things are working. So echo I joined git, goes into the file.txt, then git add file.txt, git commit -m by other developer. So now other developer has made the commit as well, but it hasn't pushed it. Now let's push this. Git push. So things have been pushed. Let's check our notepad once again. So main has this and remote has this. So this time contents of remote have been updated because we are directly working from remote and we did not actually update the things that were there in our local repository because we cloned the remote repository, and this is how we actually do in GitHub as well. Whenever you clone the repository, your work gets updated in the remote repository, not on the repositories that are in the systems of other developers working in the same community, right? So now let's do it once again from the side of local developer, and this time you're going to see a very interesting thing. Let's get out of this. We're going to do cd local repo. We are in this. Now we're going to do echo hey world file.txt, git add file.txt, git commit -m commit from local. Done. Now this commit has been made. Now let's run this. Git push. Let's see what actually happens. We get an error, and this error is very much expected. Let's see what this error says. Updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. So this is a merge conflict, and in fact, so this is a conflict that has arisen because your remote repository got the contents of other developer, but the local developer is not updated with the remote repository, and this is where you all use the command of git pull. But if you're not able to understand this, let's draw this graph right here in Git. Let's do it. Now we all know that Git protects history. So if Git would have allowed this commit, then the information that has been added by other developer would have been lost. To prevent all this, Git did not allow it. Let's run this command for this. Git fetch. After this, we're going to do, watch this command carefully. Git log minus minus one line minus minus graphs minus minus all. So you get this structure. Now, if you're someone who has seen tons of videos on what Git actually is, then this is the diagram that almost everyone draws in their YouTube videos. But if you could tell those people that we can actually draw this diagram in Git itself, it is just so interesting concept. So we made first commit, we made second commit, we made a third commit, and then we went to other developer, which is our branch, and then we did not update the local, and we made a commit from local. Now Git is saying, if I will push this, information added by other developer would be lost. So is wanting you to just get your things synced so that all things work together, nothing is ahead and nothing is behind. So how we are going to solve this error actually? Let's update it together. Git pull origin main. So we get another error or a warning. Let's see. It says cannot merge binary files, file.txt, and the file that we have done has so many different contents and it cannot merge it. So the thing is, it is reading it as binary file. It is not reading it in the form of text. Git works on the lowermost languages. It is working on low level languages. So it is interpreting it as a binary file, because of which it is not able to update the contents. Now let's find out a solution for this. We need to update the contents of the file.txt, and we have three different ways to update the contents. Like, we manually resolve the merge conflicts. The first thing is to open it in an editor. We can open the file.txt in a text editor like VS Code, and manually we will get those hashes, we get those exponent signs and markers which will tell us where conflicts are emerging and where do we need to add the content, where do we need to remove that content. So this is what we usually do. That is the first thing. For that, I will try code dot. So that is the first way. But it is very easy to do things in text editors. But since we're talking about Git, so I will want you all to go to the basic level. We're going to use two other ways, that is, first opening the file in Notepad itself, and the second thing, opening the contents in Git terminal itself. So let's first do the Notepad. Notepad file.txt. So we have hello and hey world, and we have had so many contents, but those contents have been updated continuously. So this is what it tells, that things that have happened. So let's write the contents in the terminal itself. Let's do it. File.txt. So we get hello and hey world. So these are the things that we did. Now I want you to just try it. Let's see if this works or not. Cd, and then you're going to get into the other dev, and we'll run these commands again. Notepad file.txt. So we have hello, I joined Git, which is very different from this. We have hello, which is common in both, and then we added this from the other developer, and then we have this which we added from the other developer, and this we added from a local developer. So two different contents, and we don't know which content we should keep. So let's do it from remote as well. And cd remote rep will do notepad file.txt. It says it cannot find this file. So this is quite interesting. So when we ran this command on remote repository, it said cannot find this file. And the reason is very simple. Remember in the beginning we declared it with minus minus bear and we itself said that it is not going to have any working file. That's why it does not have any working file. It just has those base files in which basic Git repositories, basic Git structure is kept like heads, refs, etc. So we cannot create another files in this. So that is why we cannot access it from these files. So now, how do we solve these issues as a good developer? Let's get into the local repo first. Now, let's go on Notepad once again. We have this file.txt and then we have this file.txt. This came from the other developer and this came from the local developer. So how do we usually do it? We keep both the contents. I've copied the content of other developer and I'm going to add it in this. So I've added the content over here. And now I'm going to save this file once again from the local repo. So I'm going to do git add file.txt git commit -m resolved merge conflict. So resolve merge conflicts and now we're going to push it. Git push. So now it says things have been pushed. Let's check our files. So we had these main files in the beginning which contained hashes. So we have this hash and we have this hash and everything is up to date. But over here you would not get to understand most of the things because still we cannot see it clearly. Let's run this command and you'll see a graph once again. So, this is the graph that we have finally made. We have seen those graphs. They diverge into two different branches and then they merge into one single branch again. And this is what we have just built. We made a first commit, we made a second commit, and then a third commit. Then we made a commit from local, then from other developer, and then we resolved the merge conflicts, and things have worked very well. Now let's do it once again. Let's get the contents. Get content file.txt. So now we have, alright, so get content file.txt, I got this, but I could not get this, and the reason was very simple. I did not save this file in Notepad. So once I will save this file, I will get all the things that we have done and we have updated. So this is how it is going to work. We resolved the merge conflicts, we updated the contents of the file, because see, git add file is a command for merging it in git, but we need to update the contents, and since we are doing things manually, we need to control save it. And that is why in today's world we do not get into so much hustle. We just do things from one single button. And now if you look at the code that we have made from the beginning of this video, just a few lines of code, I would say, the apart, I would recapitulate it. In fact, we made a local repository, we made a remote repository, then through origin we connected both these things through remote, and after this we made first commit, we made second commit, a third commit, then we made a commit from other developer, then we came back to a local developer and tried to make a commit, but we got an error in that case because our graphs had diverged. Continuing further, we tried to get the contents of different things. The ninth part that we did, and the last part is we merged everything together and we got this final graph of git. So I hope you all must have learned something through this video, because I think this video will just open up so much of your mind, because we never really get into these technicalities. But if we compare ourselves to students of MIT, Harvard, or Stanford, those students studying in top Ivy Leagues, they till date study these basic structures, because these basic structures are the thing that help you to build real world technologies today. If we ignore these things, we're doing it good, it's fine, this would not be used anywhere. But the reality is, what if you're someone who's going to build the next GitHub? What if you're someone who's going to build the next Git? You would have to learn all of these things, and these are just basics that we ignore in our everyday education. We go on the random courses on Coursera studying just the superficial things. In fact, today when everyone is learning AI, they're doing it superficially. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is entirely mathematics. And if you will watch the curriculums of students from IIT Delhi, students from these top tier colleges in India or across the globe, they're studying the basics. That is mathematics. And we are just building on top of these things. We're just going on Jupyter notebooks and writing code. We're going on Google Colabs and writing code. But do we actually know how to construct those algorithms? We need to get into the basics. And since the video has almost come to an end, I really want to share that this is the fifth time I'm actually recording this video. The video was to be out last Monday, but it is coming out today. And the reason is, I struggled a lot to make this video. The first time I made, my screen recorder of laptop did not allow me to save it. The second time I made, I actually had five different pieces of recordings, and the last part did not get recorded. The third time I made, my laptop's battery ran off in the middle, and I don't know what happened. The fourth time I made the video, I don't know what was happening the entire week last time. I made the video, and then since I had the same name of repositories and file the issue that we got in the beginning, things got messed up and I was so exhausted I couldn't make it. And this is the last final time I'm making this video once again. And I really hope you all would get so much value. And honestly, I did not think that anyone would watch the videos that I'm making. The previous video, the first video, Git internals, I did not think people would watch these videos. In so many, so less days, I've got almost 4,000 views. And since I'm an emerging creator, I did not think I would get these views, especially on a topic with so much technical depth. It is just so much surprising to see how much people are interested to learn about these things. And if I'm able to be a small part of your journey, I'm really grateful for this. I hope you all must have learned something, and you all are the reason of why I actually made this video about Git push, because I could see that interest in you all who want to understand these technical topics as well. So that's all for today's video. I wish you all good luck. Till then, let's make the best out of our college journeys. Thank you and bye.